Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and greetings to everyone. I'm Rozidaini binti Muhammad Ghazi from University Malaysia Kelantan. Today I would like to share my research entitled Removal of Oil and Grease in Wastewater using palm kernel shells activated carbon. Oil and grease contaminate the wastewater by the sources of crude oil productions, oil refinery, petrochemicals industry, metal processing, compressor, condensate, lubricants, cooling agents, car washing, and also restaurants operation. Oil and grease wastewater usually consists of toxic substances that bring bad effect towards plant and animals. The oil and grease will form a layer on the water surface. It contaminated and decrease the biological activity of the natural treatment process. Skimming tanks and oil and grease traps in treatment plants are other conventional techniques in removal of oil and grease. However, these treatments do not seem to be working as they have low efficiency in removing the oil and grease. Therefore, activated carbon seems to be the alternative of the high-cost conventional techniques in removing oil and grease in wastewater. In this study, the use of palm kernel shells as a raw materials of activated carbon is produced from palm oil industry as an agricultural waste abundant in number as Malaysia has a large of palm oil sector. For the problem statement, the discharge of wastewater containing oil and grease from premise and factory into the wastewater system will affect the piping system of the wastewater, and if not treated properly, it will affect the environment. The oil and grease give problem to the piping system of the wastewater system and is needed to be checked and fixed frequently. The presence of oil and grease in water bodies leads to the formation of layer that cause problem towards the environment. Therefore, objective of this study, first, to determine the ability of palm kernel shell activated carbon to absorb oil and grease. Second, to determine the optimum parameters affecting column absorption by different concentration of oil, contact time, and flow rate. Okay, this is information about oil and grease in wastewater. Sources of oil and grease. Oil extraction process usually occurs in oil mills, and the effluent of the oil mills contains high concentration of oil and grease. Food processing also produce effluents containing oil and grease, and the effect of oil and grease in wastewater, it will lead to the effect of survival of aquatic life in water. And in Malaysia, the limitation and standard of these components in the wastewater effluent is listed under the Environmental Quality Act EQA 1974. And oil and grease in wastewater from industry and housing area falls under the 5th schedule under Environmental Quality Industrial Regulations 2009. Okay, palm kernel shell is a byproduct of an oil mill or an oil plantation site and is produced when the palm oil is extracted to obtain the palm oil. The utilization of the palm kernel shell is relatively low, thus causing it to accumulate and increase in number. And palm kernel shell has a potential in becoming a quality charcoal with its characteristic of adequate hardness, low ash content, and fairly high fixed carbon. And for activated carbon, can be classified into 3 types: powdered activated carbon, granular activated carbon, and extruded activated carbon. And for this study, the powdered activated carbon were produced. Materials and reagent: palm kernel shells obtained from local palm oil plantation mill, And oil and grease wastewater samples collected from local SME that process fish cracker located in Tumpak, Kelantan. However, after determination of oil, the wastewater sample below than the standard discharge limit. Therefore, for this experiment, the wastewater sample was piped using used cooking oil, which is 1%, 5%, and 10%. Okay, this is the figure for column absorption. Consists of retort stand and peristaltic pump to control flow rate. And height of PKS activated carbon in the column was kept at constant 10 cm throughout the experiment. And a control setup is without the presence of PKS activated carbon in the column. Okay, for results and discussion. Effect of different concentration of oil and grease with different contact time. Figure shows the graph of percentage removal of oil and grease against times from 0 to 24 hours. And 1% of oil and grease, which is blue color. The highest oil and grease percentage removal is 99.93% at 20 hours contact time. And the lowest oil and grease percentage removal is 81.57 at 12 hours contact time. For 5% oil and grease, the highest oil and grease percentage removal is 99.89% at 6 hours contact time, and the lowest oil and grease percentage removal is 89.8 at 14 hours contact time. And next is the 10% oil and grease, and the highest is at 2 hours, reached 99.93%, and the lowest at 24 hours, which is 73.04%. Next, effect of flow rate. This is a graph for flow rate. First, 1 mil per minute show the highest percentage removal of oil and grease at contact time 6 hours with 99.89%. Overall, it shows the slower flow rate to have a higher percentage removal than other flow rate. And next is the characterization of PKS activated carbon using scanning electron microscope. This is figure shows the raw pump kernel shell. We can see here that no visible pores at the surface and show smooth but rugged surface presence. And this is unused PKS activated carbon. Micrograph image show the number of pores presence in activated carbon. It is irregular in shape and some are usually large and show burnt out pores with tunnel or honeycomb like structure. And the next figure shows the used activated carbon, PKS activated carbon, which is after oil and grease absorbed to the activated carbon. We can see here the pores at the surface is covered by oil and grease and show the absorption of oil and grease onto surface of PKS activated carbon. We can clearly see that the surface is covered with oil and grease. For the conclusion, the different concentration of oil and grease has the different optimum contact time at the time where the percentage removal is at the highest. And the slower flow rate show the highest percentage oil and grease removal. Overall, the PKS activated carbon show the ability in removing the oil and grease in wastewater. That's all from me. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.